Hello, hello, WebZip1277 here, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight I have got a reaction to the 2017 remake of It, although I guess technically it's not a remake, since the 1990 miniseries was actually made from the book, badly, some people will argue. I'm not one of them. I loved it. But this is actually another remake of the novel. It's definitely not based on the 1990 miniseries. So it is another adaptation of the novel. It's not a remake from the previous one. And it's, it's a subtle but distinct difference. So I just want to go ahead and start by talking about the 1990 miniseries, which has a very special place in my heart. That movie scared the crap out of me as I was probably a tween when that came out, and I loved it for it. I happen to know that this movie is considered the one that gives people their fear of clowns in a lot of cases. I kind of don't share that. My fear of clowns comes from Poltergeist. That movie was made back in like 1982, and I saw it when I was even younger than when I saw It. And yeah, that little clown scene is what made me go, yeah, I'm not so crazy about clowns. But I will say it didn't help. It freaked me out in a lot of ways, but it did so in a way that just kind of made me love it. Kind of the same way that I love the scary stories to tell in the dark books, and a lot of other movies out there, like, The Shining, another Stephen King movie, which is like the only movie that has ever given me nightmares. Although I know Stephen King hated that version, but whatever. But yeah, now that I did watch the 1990 miniseries movies together, and fairly recently, and I will always love them, but I will also say they probably have not aged as well as one would hope. The feeling that I got when I was watching it was that, yeah, I remember this really scaring the heck out of me as a kid, but I'm really just not anymore. I'm not scared of what is on that as much anymore. And part of that is probably me having an affection for Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise and what have you. But a lot of it, I don't know, maybe the technology for filmmaking was limited at the time. Maybe the pacing is just different in a way that I don't feel builds tension as much as it did. It did when I was younger. So I mean, it's like, has the movie changed, or have I changed, or what exactly is going on there? With that said, I still enjoyed it. I also do think that the first part, which has more emphasis on the children, is stronger than the second part, which had more emphasis on the adults. I mean, they're still kind of told in flashbacks, but a lot of the meat of the children's story is told in the first part. And it's pretty appropriate and I think a really good idea that they went ahead and made this movie just from the point of view of the kids, because many people think that part of the miniseries was better, and I would be among them. And so when they did this, they took out the flashbacks. There are no adult iterations of the losers in this version. They're just telling the kid's story straight on. And when they make the sequel, because I know this movie is going to be really successful, that will probably be the adult story, and then probably feature some flashbacks still. I mean, like, I have a feeling that there will still be things that kind of come back from this this newer iteration of It. So, and I mean, they did say in the credits, and I don't know how much of a spoiler this is. I'm going to try not to do too many big spoilers. But when they were rolling the credits and everything, including I think the title credits, it was very much it chapter one, and so yay, you know. I like that they're confident enough. They're like, yes, this is chapter one, which means there's going to be a chapter two, and I like that. I thought that they were very clever about how this movie was made. The fact that it's 27 years after the 1990 series, which is perfect because it hibernates for 27 years. It's just, so I guess we'll get a little into the movie itself, the one that I just saw today. Oh my God, was it good? I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I loved it. As much as I love the 1990 version, I have no problem saying that this version so far is the superior story. Not only because the scares are there, and don't get me wrong, there are a few jump scares, but they're well utilized. They are not just put in there every other moment to shock and scare people. To me, that's kind of a cheap trick. Jump scares can be used in a horror film, but they should be used sparingly. And I think this movie does a great job of actually building tension, showing the characters and their lives and everything. And I think that's actually a strength, one of the strengths that this movie brings over the 1990 miniseries, because you get to see a lot more of the lives of not only the Losers Club, which I thought was fantastic, because you see a lot of Bill and his storyline with Georgie, and you get glimpses into some of the other kids' lives, like a little bit. But in this one, there's not like a whole lot of development, but there is definitely more kind of to chew on in terms of what you see. In terms of character development for each of the losers, you get to see a lot more of Richie Tozer's really jerky jokes, and you get to see a lot more of what's going on with Beverly. You see a lot more of what's going on with Mike than you did in the 1990 miniseries. Everybody kind of gets a little bit more in terms of characterization. But you've also got that with Henry Bowers and some of his gang. You see that there are things going on and help explain, why some of these characters are the way they are. And I mean, some of it is hinted at in the 1990 miniseries, but like this really kind of makes some of it explicit and kind of makes you go, woohoo. Yeah, no wonder that person's screwed up. Or no wonder that person is the way she is or the way he is. So yeah, but definitely a lot of fun. Some of my favorite characterizations, Bev Marsh actually kind of comes off as a badass at several points. I mean, I know that like in the 1990 miniseries, they made her the one that could, she had good aim and could shoot the slingshot and damage it. But I mean, she's got a couple of other moments where she kind of ends up saving the day or keeping it so that everyone has a fighting chance. So I like that. I liked Richie Tozier. He wouldn't shut up with his jokes, some of which were just like, man, don't go there, Eddie Kasbrak was very memorable. He also wouldn't shut up. He just kept spouting off trivia and facts about, germs and cleanliness and things like that. And it was very endearing and everything. And again, everyone has a personality. And I think that, if you know these movies, you know about the character of Stan Uris and what is yet to come for him, which is not especially a good thing. And this film for that character did an excellent job of establishing his personality and his kind of emotional arc that will kind of make that moment, which we all know is coming, a lot more understandable, a lot less kind of random. I mean, it did feel kind of a bit random in the miniseries, but it really kind of, you can understand, you can see why this person would do what they do later on. And it's kind of all I really want to say about Stan. He is very like logical, and the world works a very specific way, and you have to, things have to adhere to that. And if they don't, if there's anything out of the ordinary, or out of the range of what is normal, it offends his sensibilities, it offends his faculties on a very kind of visceral level. And they give an excellent, terrifying image of all of that for him. And I mean, again, everybody just has such a good development that it's great. So so a little bit about the losers. Let's talk a bit about Pennywise. And I gotta say, I mean, again, I love Tim Curry. He was a great Pennywise. He scared the crap out of me as a kid for clowns, even if he wasn't the first. But I gotta say, man, Bill Skarsgård, ooh. Oh, I mean, this movie is less about him in that sense. Pennywise kind of just takes on a lot more different forms. I mean, don't get me wrong. Pennywise, the dancing clown, is still very prominent in this one. And, but Jesus, his personality, his quirks, his mannerisms, it's a very different performance from Tim Curry's. You can see maybe like the occasional echo of something that Tim Curry may have done, but it's very much like it's very much done in the sense of I'm doing this other thing, and I've got this other personality, and it very much kind of dovetails in a way that doesn't feel like he was trying to imitate him. I don't think he was. I don't even know if Bill Skarsgård watched the miniseries, because he probably would have tried to avoid that. I could see that being one of his goals. So, and I think he succeeds in a big way in this one. This Pennywise, in a lot of ways, he's kind of childlike in a very terrifying way. And I know that probably seems confusing, but I mean, just look at, watch some of his mannerisms, watch some of what he says and how he says it. Watch some of his reactions to various events in the movie, and you'll get what I'm saying. Again, he's very memorable. He's very vicious. He's very visceral. One of the common complaints that I heard about Tim Curry's Pennywise is that he was just kind of hammy and over the top, and a little too much emphasis on the humor, even though he could be vicious at times too. There was just too much in that sense. Whereas with Bill Skarsgård, he's out to get you. He is very much, he's going to try to lure you in, but he's not necessarily going to be nice about it. I mean, he is sarcastic. He is just a lot of things that really work for this iteration of this villain. So yeah, he has definitely turned in a performance that I think rivals Tim Curry's, if it doesn't surpass it. So yeah, I'm looking at the Georgie sewer scene right now, and we'll talk about that one for a second. I don't want to spoil it, but I will go ahead and say this much. There are many similarities between that scene and the way that it was portrayed in the miniseries, but they do enough differently that you're gonna be surprised at a lot of points. One thing this movie was great at for someone like me who has seen it. I haven't yet read the novel, but I'm gonna fix that. Don't worry. But there are just a lot of surprises. There's like, oh, this is kind of playing out the way I remember it, but it's definitely not quite this way, you know. There's a lot of that. There's some of it just on a terrifying basis. Like, you're just going to go, whoa, that did not happen before. And I may not sleep as well tonight because of it. So yeah. A little bit about the Bill and Georgie subplot. I know that it kind of kicks off the story, and it definitely, in the miniseries, you know that is Bill's motivation is to kind of avenge his brother, find out what is doing this, and you know, I mean, there's the whole, we don't want this happen to other kids in 27 years, you know, so let's get him. But I do feel that the Bill and Georgie kind of arc does get a little bit more meat on it again, in terms of just how it's resolved and how it kind of plays out. And I think that a lot of the characteristics that people liked about the Losers Club from the 1990s movies, a lot of those qualities are still retained, even if they give the characters more to do and more development. And you know, it really kind of helps you get invested in, you know, in Richie's terrible jokes and, you know, just kind of insensitive banter at times with his friends, and how they react to it, you know, and how the Losers Club meets, like when they all finally get together, you know, I mean, some of them exist in pockets from each other, but, you know, they kind of all eventually come together and realize that they need to fight this thing, and you know, it's all very well done. And it's all very good. I really, really enjoyed this film, and I know that it opened at like 7 o'clock on Thursdays, so yesterday from when this is being recorded, and already that Thursday night showing has set a lot of box office records in terms of how much they've already pulled in. I know that a lot of people in the film industry are projecting that this movie could crack 90 to 100 million. So, I mean, that's wonderful news. From my own point of view, I went to a matinee today. And, I mean, I did that because I was trying to avoid the crowds. I'd just gotten out of work. I wanted to try to get in. You know, matinees are cheaper, too, you know. But, let me tell you, I may have been the first one in the theaters, but it filled up pretty quickly. And I mean, it wasn't packed, you know, it wasn't like it's going to be tonight, no doubt. But there were definitely a large number of people there. And if that's the kinds of crowds that we're getting because, you know, during matinees when you're trying to avoid crowds already, I mean, it's probably just chaos right now at the movie theaters. All the showings are packed, I hope. You know, they're sold out. I think this movie is going to do very well. I certainly loved it. There are a few very kind of, whoa, get out of your seat kind of moments. And, you know, I mean, a lot of developments that kind of call back to what you may have seen in the 1990 miniseries, but that also really are their own thing. And it helps that, you know, I believe the 1990 miniseries was set in the 60s, and this one is set in the 80s. So there are ways they kind of play around with the narrative, and it works out very well. So I again very much enjoyed this movie. It is definitely worth a viewing. I highly recommend it. I loved it. It scared me. It it pulled me in. I actually really liked this story and these characters and what was portrayed about them. I liked the plot. I liked the villain. I liked a lot of the touches that were made. I mean, I'm gonna, Andy Muschietti really took, the script and, put a lot of effort, put a lot of love into it, and I think that's going to show. I think fans are going to like this movie, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. I really think it is going to do well. So that's my kind of review. Hopefully it wasn't too spoilery, and if it is, I apologize, but I'm excited. It was a good movie. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and leave a like. And if you haven't already and you're feeling particularly ambitious, go ahead and subscribe. It really helps me out. I am going to try to do more reaction and review videos in addition to a lot of my gaming content. So, but hopefully you enjoyed this. And if you have any thoughts about the movie, please feel free to leave a comment. I would definitely love to start a conversation about this. And definitely go check out this new version of it. Enjoy it. Let me know what you think. And in the meantime, I will see you later.